and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is James, and I'm a flight attendant for a major U.S. airline. So I thought I would do a little conversation about low-cost carriers and what it's like. Because if you don't know, I used to work for a low-cost carrier. I now work for a legacy airline, and I figured it would be a really cool experience to talk about them because, in all honesty, before I started working for a low-cost carrier and when I flew low-cost carrier many years ago, I had a very big negative output on everything. And then, of course, I kind of looked into it more. I actually flew on one recently, and my experience was completely different and my perception completely changed. And so I figured, why not talk about it? Because so many of my friends were like, I can't believe you're going to go, I would never fly on a low-cost carrier, or I would never fly on a small plane, or things like that. And so I figured, why not try to debunk some of these myths and thought perceptions, and why I really think that low-cost carriers are actually really awesome. They serve a really great purpose. They're not bad like everyone says that they are, and why I think everyone should fly a low-cost carrier and give it a try. Because my motto is, like, you can't say you don't like something unless you've absolutely tried it before, even other people's perspective, even if other people tell you. Because the thing is that everyone's perspective and experiences are going to be different than your own, so you need to experience it yourself. So get that out of the way. So low-cost carriers in the US are going to consist of Allegiant, Spirit, and Frontier Airlines. A low-cost carrier means that obviously it's low cost. And it doesn't mean that you're going to not get all the services that you get on board with a legacy airline. Now, there's some amenity differences, which I'll talk about. But overall, it's a low-cost airline, so there's going to be some differences than a legacy, but it's still giving you the basic same services, functions that a legacy carrier gets you. You get onboard service, you get bags, you get from point A to point B. The awesome thing about low-cost carriers is that the prices are insanely cheap, hence the name low-cost carriers. Now, I'm going to use an example, which is going to be from Seattle's where I live, Las Vegas to Dallas. With a low-cost carrier, so on Allegiant, Spirit, and Southwest, when you look at a ticket on their website, like all other airlines now, it's each direction most of the time they're listed, right? Price each way, one way. That price, though, is just for the seat. The business model of a low-cost carrier, which I think is really smart, is that you're paying for what you get. You're paying for what you want, not what you get. Well, you're paying for what you get, but you're paying for what you really want on board the aircraft. So, for me, for instance, if you're flying from Las Vegas to Dallas, it's about a 2.5-hour flight each way. With your base fare that you get, which is just your seat for you to come sit on that plane, you get one personal item, which is an item that has to fit under the seat in front of you, right? Backpack, purse, things like that. If I'm going, say, for Dallas for a day trip, or I'm going for the night, or you're going for a couple of days, but you're a really light packer, and you only need a backpack, well, then all you need to do is pay for that seat. I flew from Vegas to Dallas for $17.50. With taxes, it came out to $19.95. One way. That was the base fare. One way. Now, of course, if you have a carry-on bag, they charge you $35. I'm going off Spirit because I was just recently flew on them, but all the airlines are pretty much, low-cost carriers are pretty much within like $5 of each other of all these prices. You're going to pay for your carry-on bag, which is $35. If you pay at the gate, it's usually double. So my advice, pay for it because they will catch you. Another thing is seats. Even when you're choosing your seat, they have each seat categorized based on prices. So you might say a middle seat in the back is $5 more, whereas a window seat 5 rows up might be $15. My honest recommendation, don't pay for a seat. Just don't do it. And this is why. If you're saying, well, I'm flying with 2 or 3 people. Now, if you're flying with like 6 people, your whole family, maybe I wouldn't. But I flew with 2 other people. I didn't pay for the seat. The system automatically grouped us together in the seats and put us at the front of the plane. which those seats were average, if I remember right, $35 per seat, additional to the base fare of just my seat of $17.50. So I saved already $35, but I paid for my carry-on, so I balanced out. Okay, so currently 35, $17.50, let's say, plus tax, $60 one way, right? Now, low-cost carriers don't have Wi-Fi on them. The seat is pre-reclined. They are comfortable. They have a little bit less cushion than legacy carriers, but they are not horrible. Now, I will say, I would not take a low-cost carrier, ideally, on a red-eye flight because, now granted, I don't sleep on the plane, so it doesn't matter. If you were trying to sleep and you like the little headrest that pops out and things like that, okay, maybe you shouldn't do this. Now, if you get a window seat, this is perfect. Flying cross country can be a little more crammed, but the seats are uncomfortable. It's not like a flat board like everyone says it is. It actually has comfort. There's cushion to it. It is still made to be comfortable. The farther back in the plane you sit, the seat widths between each seat do squinch in a little bit because they make room for one extra row. So my recommendation is, on a standard seat though, if you're farther up in the plane, like row, like 3/4 of the way back and up, you are getting the same legroom as you would on a legacy carrier. So it's no different. Now, you're not going to have the big armrest. They're a little smaller armrests, but who cares? People always fight over the armrest anyway, and most of the time you're not using them anyway, or you can figure out how to share. Low-cost carriers do not have Wi-Fi on them. They don't have TVs. Low-cost carriers are looking into Wi-Fi because it is the in thing. They understand that. So if you do fly a low-cost carrier, Frontier, Allegiant, Spirit, download a movie before you get on, because I will tell you the amount of times I would get asked, what's the Wi-Fi password? What's the username? There's nothing. You are on your own, and we were doing like 5-hour transcon flights. So be prepared. Download some movies, have a book, whatnot. The other thing that you pay for is you're going to pay for onboard services. That's snacks and drinks. A can of soda averages about $3 per can aboard the aircraft. You get a full can. The snacks are a great selection of snacks. They're like, you can get a decent, like those boxes that are less expensive actually than the ones that you get on legacy carriers. So you're still paying for snacks, for food snacks, like you would on a legacy carrier. The thing is that you're not getting like pretzels and peanuts and things like that on the low-cost carriers like you would on a legacy carrier. But on the low cost, you're still getting all of the buy on board that you would on any other airline. You still have that, and you actually have more options. And some of the options I like more. Alcohol is really cheap. They usually have a lot of bundle options too, which actually bring your costs down, which is awesome. So the great thing, like I said, why you should try a low-cost carrier is, although there's a lot of negative reputation out there, especially about the seats not being comfortable, you have no legroom, it's all these extra expenses, all of these things, it's not. I used to be an MVP at Alaska Airlines, and I was only would fly Legacy. I refused to fly low-cost. I finally did it, and I actually loved it a lot. It's an easy way and really affordable way to get somewhere from point A to point B without paying much, which is awesome. Like I said, for me, it works out because, of course, if I'm flying from Vegas to Dallas, I pay for my seat, I pay for my carry-on, I even buy a can of soda on the plane. That's still like $75 in total, and that's it. So you're really not looking at a big cost to go a long distance. Some flights are even cheaper, so it's not bad. And sometimes if you bundle things, they'll discount you more and things like that. They always are running promotions. So I really think that you should try give ultra low cost carriers an opportunity. Fly them, see what you think. Don't think all these negative things about like the customer service or the flight attendants are rude or your customer services are rude because they're not trained right. The flight attendants and customer service agents are trained the exact same way as a legacy carrier. There is some differences, obviously, of like service standards because like legacy carriers, of course, do more service or things like that. But at the end of the day, flight attendants are still being looked at the same way from a recruiting standpoint from any airline. They want to provide a great customer experience for their guests so that their guests continue to come back. The goal is not to run rude airlines and just get passengers there and make your money. That's not the goal. The goal is to actually have flight attendants who love about their job, care about their passengers, provide extremely excellent customer service so that you want to come back for another flight. And that's how every airline is. Of course, there's going to be instances where things happen and you're not going to get that experience, and that's unfortunate. But don't let that one experience or someone's experience telling you how bad it was on that one time make you think that that airline is all it's about. Because I will tell you the amount of times that I have heard negative experiences about something, not even about airlines, but anything in general. I've gone and actually done it because I was like, why not? I went in with a negative output. It was the most amazing experience, exact opposite experience than what I'd actually been told before. So, like I said, don't just throw it to the side. Give it a chance and see what comes up, because you might be actually really, really, really surprised. One thing is with ultra low cost carriers, I will tell you this, is that depending on the flights that you do on the routes, because it's low cost, they are going to book flights that are slightly at different times that are less peak, so they save a little bit more money. So you might be looking at slightly differential times or not as many frequencies as you might like to get where you want to go. That is just the way that the game works. But if you're flying like in and out of Vegas, Allegiant, Spirit, and Frontier fly in here like crazy, you will easily get a flight. Some airports too that they service, some of them are more secondary airports, especially with Allegiant. Frontier and Spirit don't do it as much, but especially with Allegiant, they fly into secondary airports a lot more. So you are going to be looking at different airports sometimes that you might not be used to, because it's also a way for them to save cost, which actually sometimes works for you because you're not paying the big airport parking prices or taxes and things like that. So even though you might have to drive an extra 20 minutes, you might actually get more of a discount overall flying on a low-cost carrier than flying on a big airline that's flying out of a big major airport. So I hope this helped answer some questions about ultra low-cost carriers, what they're about. Like I said, I used to have a negative output on them. I, of course, worked for an ultra low-cost carrier. I absolutely loved it. I always non-revved on low-cost carriers. For me, I had my reasons why I did that, but it was not because of me being able to get around easier. It was also because the experiences were always great. The crews were so nice to you. They took care of you. They're friendly. And like I said, if you're flying on a flight and you don't need anything on board, why not do it? Especially, for instance, if you're flying, and one other thing I always say too is this is an analogy, so I'm like sidetracked. If you're flying on like from Vegas to LA, that flight's done often. It's a 45-minute flight, right? Do you really have time for service? Probably not. So you don't need to pay for that service. And I'm going to get into that on legacy carriers on the next video. But this is why, and I'll explain it more over there. But this is why too, because when you fly from like Vegas to LA and it's a short flight, and all you need is that seat to get for that business trip or get home, you're paying for exactly what it is you want on that plane. What it is you want is all you're paying for, and that's what you're going to get. And that is an amazing thing about the ultra low cost carriers, because the one thing is you are not going to be paying for a service or something that you are not going to get. And I'm going to explain more of that in part 2 of this, which will be about legacy carriers and what it's like being a passenger in them and kind of I'll explain a little bit more of the differences there. So I hope this answered it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram. It's the same as my YouTube channel. It's JenandJamie206. You can comment below. I always read my comments and try to respond to them right away. But if not, I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up, and I will talk with you guys soon. Bye for now. Bye.